So I was actually reviewing today's trade to see if I can repeat it. I like to see that I can repeat things, knowing that it wasn't just like by accident that these plays are coming together. So I was going through the order flow. So last night, the first order that came through when market closed was a massive sell at 590 exactly, okay? And then after that, there was some buying that went on at 589.97. 589.97. So essentially like the same level. Well, the fact that it dropped down below it means that they could have grabbed the liquidity, got the shares, and then you can see at that 598.87, it just started trading above that level. So there was a buy zone, and now it's trading above. So I'm like, I think we're going up. Okay, but the sell, this is what I found interesting as I was reviewing. So this is where the sell happened last night, the big sell. It was 800,000, almost 900,000 shares. So in pre-market, the candle came right down. That means in 1 minute, the stock dropped to that level, but then got bought back up. So these shares got bought back up to the top of that wick. Well, what I find is interesting is that's where it just closed tonight. The exact level that those shares got brought up. And I'm thinking those are not actual investors buying them, but this is a market maker like move, trick. And the reason why I think it, because when it came through on the time and sells tape here, that there were 458,000 shares sold at this level down here, there was only one order on my stocks to trade, but on my Thinkorswim there were 2 orders. So when there's a discrepancy between the order flow on the 2 different systems, I find that really, really odd. And those seem to be like key levels and share sizes that get manipulated and moved around. I don't know what it is, but I know it's worth paying attention to because it helps me find these good trades. So back to reviewing the trade, buys that happened right here. Okay, so at this time they were buying right here. Stock dropped below, so they could have got enough liquidity. The order was filled. When the order gets filled, it pops above, comes back, and this is a break and a retest. So it broke through the level, retested, and took off. And then when I also saw that all the shares that were sold down here got bought up, I was like, okay, I'm going to look for a call. And then that's when, that's when I did the whole build the house thing. So if you go back right here, okay, it's trading in this level. So you can see this is like plays out over time. They are grabbing liquidity. This like was already known that this was a level. Then you go back, and this is the day then that I was like, okay, can we find an entry point there? Because let's just do the halfway marks. Because this is already played and it's filled, like this order's done. That's why this did not interest me, because I felt that order was filled. This order, look, when these shares, these 591 shares, there was a sell right there, and what happened in this? It got brought right back up to that level too. So now this 592.70 is very intriguing. So had I not built the house, it came down almost to it. It came down to 592.96, so just under 593. So what I'll do too is when I'm in this area, like, I'm going to move these candles. I look for, not only will I have, okay, the one order that I'm like, if I'm not building the house, if this came up here, then I look, where was like a big buy? So if we zoom on this day, right here's a big buy, and it's up there. So, and I do at the top of the wick on this just because I know that when there's a big buy, it drops from that level. So was that a more precise even entry you find without? Yeah, that was it. So that's what they did. That makes it even easier. You don't even have to build a house. Although the building house is a good way just to get your eyes like used to dividing things up in threes. But look at that. Let me show you again here. Freaking, it just blows my mind that it can be this. After you study it enough, of course, like I have, it becomes obvious. So again, a big share gets bought up here. They fill it, and now it's a break, retest, and it's off. So that's why I didn't think this stock's done at that level. So then we go back and we're like, okay, yeah, this order has been filled, this green order. So what's going on here? Oh, we've got an order going on here, which means there had to have been a sell that happened right here. Probably, if I look back at the 15th, there's a sell at 577.30, but not 591 on the 5th. Oh, I did August 15th. September 15th. A sell at, I'm looking for a sell at 591.26. There were sells at 591.68, and it was that same thing where it was two of the orders where there was the discrepancy between stocks to trade and Thinkorswim, which tells me anytime I see a big order here and two big orders on Thinkorswim, like this manipulation, I've got to pay attention to these wicks because they're just manipulating it. So this pre-market day, the sell order that happened right here got bought up and they're holding it right there. Okay, so whatever that means, I don't even know and I don't care, but I know that this is consistent. So now that should have been an easy, no, it wasn't. Look at, oh, sorry. We were looking at something else. So we could say that there's orders there to be sold. But then what I told you, and Alex, again, I just figure this out as I go. It's just like a treasure hunt. This is the biggest green candle in this day. Okay, right here, volume candle. So I go to the top of that candlestick, and I find I like that it's a wick because that means it's a big order, but then there were too many shares that had to be sold at that order, so it got pushed down, but somebody wants in at this level. So then you notice that day, even though we had the largest volume candle for buying up here, it never traded up above that level. So at some point, it's got to. So it takes a couple days, and what do? Where that investor placed a big order, because again, orders get placed in pre-market and in after hours. That's why I look at that. So even had I had these two lines here, I mean, the house thing worked, but this is even, I mean, look, you let it touch there. I've learned really, you'll start to get a feel for when you need to grab it the second it touches, or if you can give it a minute. So that touched twice and took off. And this move, the options moved well today. It was like 300% up to the top. And I just read the order flow to know that there was no orders that were coming through that were going to drop it, as well as knowing that right here, the share had already been like oh, this is interesting. Okay, hold up. This green line right here, see, this is just too weird that it's all coincidences. So this green line, well, that was the sell order. That's why it is pulled up. Anyways, it's so fascinating to me that it's just these like candles and wicks, and if you follow the movement along them, like it becomes so predictable. So these shares got bought up to this level. So I'll be really interested to see, I'm going to leave this up, if this is a level that gets played with. But we also then have the shares that were sold down here that got pulled up right to there. Right? So they got sold up to here. And now, market's closing, that's where we close. So, and this up here, there's just some big orders that they sold. So I think they hung it out here and they don't have much reason to have it go up. I think they held it up here so they could sell the shares off, and they'll use this in order to drop the market tomorrow. I'm going to definitely pay attention then to 696.35, this level right here. So freaking fascinating. And this is why sometimes I can't talk when I'm doing it, because if I start to get too much, well, how do you do this? How do you do this? At first, I have to come up with a plan. I have to like walk through the story of what I think has happened. It literally is just playing out a story. And I keep trying to say, well, if I know there's like something that I could just tell people to do and it'll work. And that's why, helped me come up with the mark the top, the bottom, because I found that consistently, like, that adds to figuring out, at least to get your eyes to start looking at key areas. It's a great first start for learning how to find a good entry point. And then on the 7th, so now for tomorrow, so the 18th, which is quad witching day. It's when expirations expire, and it typically is a very volatile day, and usually like it plays off of these levels because investors usually aren't getting in on this day at all. Like investors have already taken their positions where they want to go, and everybody got out here. So quad witching is fun because there's not any real like orders that they're playing off of, so they typically use these key market making areas, which now I've found and I've moved along. So really it's going to be these red lines are the two market making areas that they can use to manipulate. It's going to be fun. Okay, so at market close though, what happened today? I don't want to mark the chart up anymore. So I'm just going to do a white line. So market close here, there was a sell for 1 million. Okay, this is another market making level actually. I'm going to make it yellow because that makes me think of market makers. So because it was odd, there were one share worth 1 million sells on this one, and on my Thinkorswim there were 2 shares sold in the size of over 1 million. So that's minimum 2 million shares that they've got to manipulate. That's going to be some big, when you have them that big, like 1 million, it's going to be a fun swinging day. So they were sold at 59532. 59532. So right here they sold all those shares, okay? What did they do? They started getting picked up. And then we had small buying at 59532. So what did they do? They brought it down, and now we're back up to that key level. So I'm assuming those small orders got filled. And then we got some selling at 59522. Oh, so down here there was some selling, so those shares got sold up here. 59532. Oh, no. Okay, this is what is so freaking weird. So, stick with me. 2 million shares sold at this yellow line. 59532. Okay, and then what do they start doing? So this order right here, 59532, 1 million shares sold. Then this is this weird manipulation thing. I don't know what else to call it. That happened at 4 o'clock. If you look here at 434, 434, 507, there's sells that start coming in. Okay, this is later on in the day. But what are they? They are 59532. So the same million shares, 59532, 59532. So they are putting those sell orders in. So the sell price is here, but the stock is trading up here. And what I found happens is when they do that, when they pick up all these shares and start selling them at random levels, it creates like volume bars, which somehow pushes the price of the stock up. So they used these shares to sell, whatever it means, I don't know, to push the price up to this level here, which is a market making level from a couple days ago. 595. We did have a large buy at 595, well 400,000, 595, 59, 595. So if we did get a buy later on in the evening at 595, 59559. Okay, so this was a buy at 413. 413. So right here, they bought at this level. So the stock was trading down here, but they bought up there. Which that's weird, but that happens. And it usually kind of pushes the price up. This is going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow. And then there was another weird order thing where there was a buy here and a sell on my other order at the exact same price. We'll make it white because that neutralizes it, which they'll mark it, manipulate with this too. And it was 59558, which is like this level. 59558. And that was bought at I didn't write the time down. I could look over here. 59558. This one. 413 right here. So a buy and a sell right here. Oh, I don't know. So what I do then, actually, so now I've got all this information in my head that they were like, there's some manipulations going on. And I'll remember like where all these different shares are and whatnot. And then this is where like actually creating the houses does help me to narrow in which level is going to be used first. So if one of these exact lines ends up being like the top, the bottom, or the middle, then that's where I'll play off initially. But I just found that especially odd that the stock closed at that exact price. I'm hoping, I think there's a decent chance then that it can be an immediate, if they hold it right at here, all pre-market, if it just goes like up and down or stays below or something, we might have a good drop off of there. I don't know. We'll look and see. It'll be fun.